everybody, it's Romania Black, and we're on the third episode of the audio drama for Heaven Official's Blessing! And we're going to be doing that. We're going to be talking about a little bit of extra notes from episode 1, and specifically episode 1 that I looked at last week. We have an extra audio drama special that's 5 minutes. The one that's 3.5 is what's talked about. And I have corrected myself. I'll be able to talk about the changes or revisions for episodes 1, 2, and 3 of the audio drama based on MXTX's revisions for Heaven Official's Blessing now that the novel's completed. So it's kind of complicated. So basically, it's sort of like the weirdest thing where MXTX finished the novel and the publishers were so amped and eager to get it into publication that they immediately went and published the novel in English, and then MXTX was like, so I edited it? Honestly, I don't know what they'll end up doing because, if the capitalist, I'm from America, so the capitalist in me is like, oh, well, they'll just release the edited versions. And so you'll have to have 2 versions of Heaven Official's Blessing. They'll have to have 16 volumes, essentially, of the text, which is ridiculous in itself. So part of me is like, oh, would they do that? And then the other part of me is like, well, they could just release a compilation of kind of like what I'm reading. Reiki and Anime Annie have been taking notes. They'll just release a translated compilation of all the edits with like little footnotes, and here's your amended guide as you read the 8 volumes that you own. Here's your little appendices that you can carry with you, and you can just go to each volume and see the differences, and here's the extra text and all of that. Because I think it's like 100,000 words maybe that's different, or 10,000 words. Don't know exactly. But I think that that's interesting. So it'll be curious to see overall what they end up doing with it. But what I'm doing is I've been told for episodes 1 through 3 by Reiki and Anime Annie, who have been doing some translation, that I could talk about the changes that we're already seeing based on episode 2, oh my god, that are in those 3 episodes, this being episode 3 this week, and then I'm going to be looking at episode 4 next week, and then the following week, episode 5, I can talk about the edits for 4 and 5 together. So, and then after that, we'll just be taking a little hiatus from the audio drama, a little hiatus from Heaven Official's Blessing. We'll be starting Scum Villain. It's very, very exciting, so I'm all ready for it. But I realized last week that I went back and I had not watched the newest edition of Heaven Official's Blessing, episode 1. I had watched the original one, I think. I don't know anymore. So I was like, I've been given 2 copies. I went back and watched both of them. I didn't notice much difference, if I'm being honest. I mean, some of the translations and the words translated were different between the one from Sweebian Subs and the one from Treasure Chest, which we're looking at Treasure Chest's translation today. I didn't personally notice that much difference, but the big elephant in the room is that Long Ying, who was the child wrapped up in bandages who had the human face disease, is no longer a story point at this point. Now, whether we get Long Ying as an individual character later on, I don't want to know. We'll find out as we go, but they're not present in this beginning segment. And Zhao Ying, who had been killed by Zhangji in the original story, has now been edited to not only be alive, but to be the god of land and earth. And I'm like, what? Okay. I guess you took a really minor character and made them a less minor character, and they don't die for no reason. So, okay. And you know what? That's kind of funny because Sunspots, who is a fellow patron and one of the moderators for a series that I'm watching, they have started Heaven Official's Blessing, and they made a comment right before I watched the audio drama for episode 2. They made a comment on the Discord saying it was about Zhao Ying's death, and they're like, so is this killing of women or small children like a thing in this story? I just want to know, like, content warnings going further on. And everybody was like, no. This is like the one character that dies early on. And thinking back, yeah, it kind of makes sense why MXTX would change that, because it is kind of a weird, very gruesome death early on that it's like, oh, was that necessary? Apparently not now. And the human face disease is now transmitted to the brides. And that's how Shilian finds out. So I'm like, okay, I'm fine with these changes. They're very, if we get cool changes like this throughout, that's going to be kind of surprising. It's going to make me pay attention as I listen to the episodes to see if I'm like, that's different. So I thought that was really, really cool. In the other translation, the questions that the Yinian Bridge demon asks are, what is this place? who am I and what needs to be done rather than what should I do. And I thought that was a cool alternate translation of what needs to be done, kind of like signifying Junwoo being like, what needs to be done now? What do I have to do? So I thought that was really interesting. Obviously, we're talking about spoilers to the novel at this point, so hopefully if you watched last week, you heard me say there was going to be spoilers to the novel. There's going to be spoilers to the novel as we look at this audio drama, so just be forewarned. Also, Yinian means once yearning, and I was like, oh, knowing that even about the demon gives it that much more connection to Junwoo and yearning and like trying to find something and finding meaning in itself. And that's so cool. It works for it being just a demon because the questions it's asking are kind of tied to that yearning, so it makes sense. But then the fact that it relates back to Junwoo, it's like, oh, now it has this extra layer of symbolism that's just really freaking awesome. So I love that. The bells ringing when Shilian ascends in episode 1. It hit me when I was watching this version. It's like paralleling the bookend. You have the bookend of at the very beginning, Shilian hears the bell tolling as he ascends. At the very end, the bell is tolling because Hwachong won that bet, and he's like, "You're gonna sing my praises for a year." Poetry. It's so that they rhyme, right? I thought that was incredible. Loved that. Ling Wen does tell Shilian at the beginning that they're gonna have 2 people follow him. So last episode, I couldn't quite remember if Ling Wen had told him that Mu Qing and Function were showing up. She did. And also, I thought it was really, really funny that Ling Wen says, she says, maybe you'll just have, success in the carriage at the top of the mountain. And it was an analogy that Ling Wen was saying, but then you think, well, at the top of the mountain, he meets Hwachong, which is his key to success. So it's like Ling Wen is like making prophecies, predicting shit. Ling Wen is kind of the catalyst of this whole series, whether she realizes it or not. She sends Mu Qing and Function there. She says the thing about the carriage. It was absolutely amazing. And yeah, she told him the 2 were coming to assist, and but we know that Function and Mu Qing kind of volunteered themselves. Pretty much, kind of, right? So I'm super excited. The audio drama itself is only 37 minutes, which we know that part of that is going to be the OP and ED. Now, I did have some people tell me that the ED has its own music video, and originally I wasn't going to look at it, but then they were like, oh, it's got some really good visuals. And I was like, okay, so I'm going to look at that next week, because next week I'll just have the audio drama for episode 4 and like an extra that's included as well, but it's still only gonna be like 45 minutes of content. So it will be nice to go back and look at that video next week. That'll be fun to do. So I'm pretty excited about that. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So yeah, but I thought, the episode 1, not a whole lot that was different. I'm sure in the notes that I read this episode, we'll find out for sure. But episode 2, getting these little changes, I was like, oh, your girl did not plan for this. So that was really exciting, right? Very exciting indeed. So we're not going to waste any more time, y'all. We are going to get down to the nitty gritty and look at this audio drama as well as the little extra 3.5, and then we'll talk about the edits and changes. My internet is still down, so I'm gonna pull them up on my phone and probably look at them from there, but it's all right. So I feel so fancy today. I had to judge a tournament, and then I came home and wore this. I'm like, I'm gonna wear it for Modazushi for Heaven Official's Blessing because it's comfortable and I feel fancy. So thank you all so much for watching this video and for this reaction and discussion. I'm excited to hear your comments down below, but we're going to go ahead and start episode 3 of the audio drama. And we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's do this. I'm assuming we're gonna back up a little bit. Okay. No stone unturned. That famous phrase, leave no stone unturned. And Mu Qing sending all of his guards out. Yeah. And Shilian's reporting the human face disease. Giving us that exposition. Uh-huh. Oh, you can hear Shilian's breath. Like he's like really upset. Oh, wow. Yeah. Was that corpse bride? Her face had 3 smaller faces. Funny how that works, right? 3 smaller faces. Yeah, kind of like Junwoo, right? Oh my god, that's insane. Oh. Yeah, sit down. No, 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 no. You look haunted. And now we know. It's like book 4. Yeah, book 4. Which isn't 4 like a number of death in some cultures, which is very, very on the nose. That's so interesting. We're going to talk about this here in a second. Yeah, so in the book, when he has, we just saw this in season 2 of the Donghua, when Long Ying is in the Paradise Manor, Shilian makes the comment that he like has the scars on his face because he cut the human face disease off. But yeah, so that can't happen in this version, right? So it's gonna be interesting to see how this plays out. I can't wait to see how this plays out. But yeah, Ling Wen's like, nobody in the area in the last 20 years has had this. Interesting. And it's kind of like Bai Wusheng messing with him. Like, it's kind of like Bai Wusheng like messing with his thoughts and what he thinks and his perceptions, like he did in book 4. Oh, ooh, ooh. Or leading up to book 4. That's such a cool tie-in. I'm actually okay with this. This is interesting. The Taurus in me hates change, but I'm fine with this. Yeah. What foreshadowing, though, in the very beginning to the climax of the series? What a wild trip. Yeah. Ah. Wow, and Muqing calling Qirong such a wretch. Oh, so she was just following his orders to pay tribute. Maybe then the cave with all the bodies is just the subordinates paying tribute to him there. Well, she's, you know, what you call a beard, but subordinate, sure. Shilian's like, but why? But why? Everybody's like, the silver butterflies. Who might this young man be? Nobody wants to talk about it. Oh, we're getting the exposition. Yay. I love when Chase is like, he just happened to say he came across Hua Chong. Just happened to say it. It suits him well. Everyone's gobsmacked. Yes. Yes. Love it. Why is nobody talking? Was it something I said? Shilian's like, I want to eavesdrop and find out why they aren't talking to me. Ling Wen, give me the tea. What a role Ling Wen has in this story, right? What a role. She's like, she instantly knew why he was there. Oh, so is she going to give him the whole bit instead of the crowd? Oh, interesting. Wow, so she's just going to tell him about the 4 calamities without everyone else there. And the 4 famous tales. I remember thinking the princess who slit her throat was Ling Wen. I thought that for the longest time. And I just wasn't sure, and I kept waiting for it to come out. But I'm infinitely more happy with what it was, right? Infinitely more happy. He's like, let's not talk about me. Shelian is amazingly humble. The 4 great calamities. The Blackwater sinking ship. And the white and crimson together. The headaches of the mortal and heavenly realms. A giant water ghost. He eats a lot and is gay but doesn't want to admit it. The Green Lantern is, he eats a lot and he's gay but doesn't want to admit it. The White Calamity, he cooks a lot and is gay and doesn't want to admit it. Right, yeah, he's just there by default. We got to keep these numbers similar. Ah. He claimed a color for himself. I mean, green looks great on him. Best color choice. I mean, it works. And that's so funny. Someone you're probably familiar with on so many levels. It's so funny. The white no face. Oh, and the glass like tinkering. Yes, please. Shelian was gathered at that moment. Ooh, the way he said, please continue. And my dogs, you'll have to excuse them. But that's ancient history. We shouldn't mention it again. It won't come up again at any time. It'll be fine. He'll never find a second wind again. We're great. Spirit butterflies. They wish to provoke him the least. He cooks up schemes a lot and is gay and willing to admit it. I like we have two spirits that cook, 2 spirits that eat. 2 in denial, 2 that are all over it. And the fact that all of these ended up being fine, except for spiteful, beautiful female ghost. We never really saw Hua Chong be a female, so that was interesting. Yes, windswept blood rain and silver butterflies. You know who that is. That isn't part of the description, but Shelian knows it is. And here we go. All the stories. Kind of true. Kind of true. Yes, true. Yep, very true. Kind of true. I love this. And then he's a heavenly official and ascendant. Oh my God, yes. Oh, they put that in now? Oh, MXTX, I don't know how I feel about that. Wow, I don't know how I feel about that, revealing that early on. Did that happen? I feel like that's new. I feel like that's new because I was so surprised when we had that happen in the novel. Oh. And the 33. Oh, 35 challenge heavenly officials. Oh, yeah, but 2 of them backed out. Yes. He just included Function and Mu-Ching because they slandered Shelian. Okay. This is true, yeah. I'm sorry, my dogs are playing right now and they're gonna be loud. Oh! Oh, really? Teach them a lesson, you say? I love that they just get their comeuppance, and this is so much more satisfying later on when you find out, like, the reason why he challenged them, right? Oh my God. Eming! Oh, a machete? What? Oh, okay. So it says at the top that in Eastern cultures, there's a more curvature to machetes. I'm used to a machete being like a long silver blade, right? Interesting. Oh, and Mount Tonglu. We're going to explain that. Only 2 have come out of Mount Tonglu. Interesting. Ah. Huh. Well, thank you, Lingwen, for that history lesson. Ah. Well, they couldn't defeat him in debate. Our dude he studied up. Oh. Oh. Our boy. Although, now that we know the caliber of people working with Lingwen, that we're depending on Lingwen for everything, do we really think the civil gods were that big of a threat to Huachong? I'm just saying. She kind of proves the point with that. I like it. He's like, well, he seems kind of like a little bit of a bad boy, but not that much. Yeah. And they wouldn't do it. Yep. Not a single one wanted to abide by their word. Uh-huh. And like they had done before, they pretended like nothing happened. And they all denied him. Uh-huh. All of them. Like, then fine, bitches, I'm gonna burn down all your temples. Yeah. This is what you get for hurting my Gege. Yeah. A ghost in red burning down Temple of the Gods. Oh my god! You're damn straight. He has his ways. I don't know, but he managed it. Ooh, yes. It gets worse. Ah. But what they saw was their thorough defeat. They worshipped ghosts instead. Yep. Wow. So yeah, it's like Huachong already kind of had a following before this even started. So it makes sense why him and Shilian are worshipped in the end. It's like Shilian's this god of peace and Huachong's the god of war. You know, balance. Yeah, everybody's terrified of him because they don't want to disappear. Shilian's like, I didn't realize I was dating that much of a bad boy. Yeah, so... Oh, you know them. He's like, the only 2 that I know! Yeah, they wouldn't accept the challenge. Ah. Yeah, they didn't want to bully a ghost. They weren't bullies like the other 33. I like the idea that they've fought against Huachong in the past. I love it. I love that they challenged Huachong, like the friends of their friend being like, if you can't battle us, you ain't good enough to date Shilian. Huachong's like, I really like these cute butterflies, and they've been hurting Wuqing and Fengshen. What? Huh. Did he do anything to you? No? He's like, what should I say? Yeah, we walked hand in hand, had a marriage ceremony. We're about to go on our honeymoon, and then Shanji came up. Ah, there we go. Good on ya. Well, rumors have it, but... Uh-huh. Shilian's like, I'm not gonna fight this. I'm just gonna roll with it. Ooh. Congratulations, Your Highness. But we find out later on that Shelian had help, right? Right. To the streets of the heavenly capital. They don't need more sweepers. Oh. Yeah, make yourself a temple. He's like, Lingwen, you know as good as I can. I'm not going to get 8 million merits in like a day. Oh. What? Oh my god. Poochie Shrine! Yay! Oh, like little kids laughing and playing. So freaking cute. Aww. Aww. Water chestnuts. I do like water chestnuts. I've had it in food before. I wouldn't describe it as like sweet though. Interesting. Maybe I'm not eating them right. No. Interesting. Aww. This seems like a good place to build a temple. Aww, with the rooster crowing. I'm just gonna go squat at this abandoned cottage. Aww. Oh, I think of Modao Sushi when I think of the pinwheels. Yeah. Aww. I love it. Because you're very pretty. Oh, you little outsider. Oh, you mean that old shack? It's decrepit. Nobody owns it. Love shack. Baby love shack. Tin roof. Rusty. Uh-huh. I'm going to stay here for a long time. Aww. I love how welcoming they are. They're like, oh, you're going to stay here more than a day? Welcome to the village. He's like, oh, thanks. So cute. You're so formal and polite. Like you're 800 years old or something. Thanks, Grandpa. Hope you find your lover. Aww. I love the idea of our prince, right? Oh, 3 of the pillars have rotted. Fancy that number, huh? I just love that our prince went from being in the crown prince of Shanla to being in this little decrepit shack and is perfectly fine with it. Uh-huh. Aww. We've come to give you a fruit basket to welcome you. Aww. I find it interesting the first gift he gets is a broom, right? Muqing would have been offended. And the water chestnuts. She's like, take them. I'm giving you no choice. This place doesn't seem like it's going to be inhabitable. Are you sure? But there's only one bed. Oh. Who's that? Huh. I'm not so sure either. Oh. What does he do? He protects and keeps the peace. And he collects scraps. No. No. Ah, and there's the water master. Oh, we get him brought up really early. Oh. Oh, and get a scholar from our village. Interesting. I remember that being talked about in the book. Shu Yang. Oh, was that supposed to be a function because he's like, oh, you know, endowed? Oh, interesting. Interesting indeed. Yeah, the villagers are honestly like the sweetest here. And the fact that they like rebuilt his shack at the end and like gave him back all the extra money, like so sweet. Oh, he's thinking what else? Aw. Trading some scraps. Shilly, and he just gets the scraps. Oh. Can't forget my bamboo hat. Oh. Doors are expensive. Oh. This temple needs fixing. It's a fixer-upper. Please make donations for repairs so I can earn and collect merits. Help me become a better deity for you. I'm hoping he gets to meet San Long, at least at this point. Oh. I don't remember if we got to hear him collecting scraps. Oh, he's just dumpster diving. Oh. I don't think we got this in the novel, and it's so sweet to see Shilian like being a beggar in this, like a very vocal beggar in the streets. Oh. Ascension is no better than just collecting scraps. Oh. Random cow mooing. Could you take me? Could I hitchhike back? Oh, Shelia, no shame, right? No shame. Aw. Get this back on. Now he gets a bunch of scrolls that he goes through. Because when we first met Shilian, before I really knew he was a scrap collector, I thought he was just like researching the scrolls. How fitting. Of course you can't. Those black boots of his, they were made for walking. Mm-hmm. Couldn't be him. No silver chains. Couldn't be him. Who's come out to play? Uh-huh. You could say that. Love it. And San Long's like, is this how you would like me to look? Like this young man, this dashing young rogue that's the same age as you? Huh? Huh? Because he's technically a Gege to Shilian. He's younger than Shilian, so... It's not even autumn yet. Just like the forest from Hongxi Temple, yeah. Isn't that where he loses, like, his virginity the first time? According to the interview? Yeah, I was just trying to survive. Oh, like just getting that preview. Oh, and that's why he's catching up. Oh my God. Before he ascended, he was just trying to survive. Oh. Me. But I know what they would write. Oh. Yep. in all the heavens. The little heavenly king. Uh-huh. And collecting scraps. Yep. All life is equal. Interesting. Is that right? Ah, here we go. Shillian's like, excuse me, did I ask you? Oh. Ah. The god of disaster. Ooh. What's the difference? Man, we're getting the Water Master, really. Yeah, I guess we did get him early on because Hwa Chong established she didn't like him. I just forgot about that. We did get him this early on. I forgot about this. Yeah, because Hwa Chong's not very happy with him. Yeah, because he just got greedy and became this god of wealth. Yeah. How interesting. He's the water tyrant. Yeah, that's right. We did get this. Yeah. Yeah, a tyrant. Yeah, if you don't give him tribute, he'll flip your boat over. I like he says, we gifted him another name, meaning him and Hashan. Interesting. Yeah, I like that little detail of we, because who would be with Hwa Chong doing this but Hashan? I just imagine Hwa Chong and Hashan just having a bitch session about Shiwudu, like, on the regular. Isn't it strange? Oh, and that's when he's going to ask about Hwa Chong. Which one? I like that little... I guess I'll tell you about my story. What a handsome young man! Shilian's like, oh my. Yeah, he's like, fine, what do you want to know? Ask away. Oh, he's something, all right. And blood poured all over the mountains. Oh. And he tilted his umbrella to shield it. To stop him from getting hurt, right? Yes, an elegant gentleman, but it was also representing Shilian. He didn't want Shilian to get hurt anymore. No, it just depends on his mood. Not a good person. Ooh. Ooh. Oh, hi. Whisper in my ear. So close, too close. That's how I feel about ASMR. I'm like, too close to my ear. Get away. He's so handsome, it's a bit too much. At this point, we're pretty sure Shilian was not going to be attracted by any of the ladies at Paradise Manor. Just saying. Ah. He can become a kid. He can become a young boy. His true self. Well, that's a good theory that you've put out there. Improvisation. Just my improv skills are on point. I've been busking for years. Mm. Mm. He wears a black patch to cover up the eye that he lost. And here's the phrase, yeah. Many people want the answer to this question. He gouged it out himself. He went insane. Yeah, and he decided not to sacrifice the people because that is an insane thing to do. Logically, it'd be like sacrifice people, save yourself, but he decided not to do that. Oh, his bone ash. Oh. Under one condition. Uh-huh. Yeah, under what condition would he hand over his ashes? They just dragged this out. Uh-huh. It's their soulmate. You got the red string, you have the ashes. Yes. It's such a genuine and passionate belief. It makes sense now why everybody's wearing the red strings. Like the ghost realm will be all about it because this is a very romantic gesture. Ah. Then it would be heartbreaking. I would just gift it to the other. And who cares if they scatter it to the wind? Uh-huh. Because he's like, I trust Shilian and whatever he wants to do with me, he can do. And he's third in his family, right? Chirong was the last. And so he's third. Look at that. That is something, because I like that Hua Chong later on says, he's like, well, if you killed me, you know, to die for you on the battlefield is the greatest honor. So if Shilian killed him, he's like, so what? I'm not affected by this. You know? That's so true. And then and then he's like, if you killed my ashes, he's like, then that means you didn't love me. So, you know, it's like Hua Chong is securing himself from having to deal with an unrequited love, right? He's like, I'm not having to worry about this. We're going to be fine. No. I do like this ED a lot. I can't wait to look at the imagery next week in the video because I do like the lyrics. They're beautiful. They're basically the story. It's like, oh no, you're gonna tell us the story in these lyrics? All right. One thing though, this is a very long song, and it's fine. I like it a lot. But I feel once you know the whole story and you listen to the lyrics, you're like, that seems fair. You're like, it's fine. I am excited though to get, I'm going to try to look up our, look up the little extra bits that we need to talk about for volumes 1 through 3. They are such like, it's such a beautiful love story, but I forget, like looking back at this audio drama, how much is foreshadowed from the beginning that will come back in the final volume. And you're like MXTX just has it all go full circle and it's so well done. I love it. And I keep thinking that it's going to end like right now, but it's not. And the 3,000 lanterns. Oh, I can't wait to get to that. I know I'm curious what all season 1 of the audio drama is going to eventually cover, but there's so much that the Dongwa and the audio drama has yet to do that I'm so excited for. I'm like, yes, I cannot wait to see it like go down. Especially the Dongwa, seeing some of the stuff animated. I'm like, so excited for it. I do want to hear the preview though. Like, give us this amazing preview. Come on. What are we going to get next week? Come on. You want to come back to my place? Yes. You want to come back to my place? In credits. Oh my God. Yes. Yes. Okay. So we do have an extra. We do have one extra. It is called, what did I say? It was just called Collecting Scraps. I've seen the GIF for this on the Discord. It was shared. It's super adorable. It's just Shilian with his little bun. He's got his scrolls and he's got chickens following behind him. So I assume this is just Shilian looking for scraps and just seeing what happens to him, right? So let's find out and see. And we're gonna start this here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. I feel this is very much like a Moda Zushi extra, where it's just what Shilian's doing throughout the city. Aww. His small gong. Also, the concept that Shilian, he wasn't able to learn much about the heavenly realm and wasn't paying attention because he was just trying to scrape by and survive is such a commentary on when you're in poverty, you don't really have time to like think about like luxuries and what's going on in the rest of the world because you're just trying to live. I like that MXTX finds a way to put that social commentary in this series that's happening in current time, but it's in this fantasy story. Oh, yeah. Well, then why are you offering it to him? Oh. Oh, he's gonna help her fix it rather than take it away from her because he's the nicest person in the world. Oh. Oh. See, he was collecting scraps and begging, but he wouldn't take it from people that needed it. Why is he perfect? Quit. He's the best summer soul. Stop. And using the scraps to help others. Like, he's been helping the common people all this time. Oh. 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 Shilian saying you wanted to save the common people. You've been saving the common people. You just didn't think about it. But it's doing all these little gestures that help people. Well, he's strong because he's immortal. I'm just noticing as in the image, he has a little bird in his hair too. What a sweetheart. Aw. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Oh. He's like, if I'd known you needed him, I would have saved him. Oh. And then he just goes on his merry way. Continues on, you know. This is so sweet. I like that we get this little insight into Shelian. Oh. And the pastries. Oh. Are they stale or does it matter? Oh, they're moldy. Oh. Oh my god, and he can't die. Oh. Oh, and her giving him one. So yeah, he's been eating moldy food and not dying, but like having food poisoning and just suffering through it for how many centuries? Oh. It just makes me so sad because no wonder Hua Chong doesn't want him to hurt himself. He's like, you've been doing it for 800 years. Stop. Oh. How can you be full on a flour bun? Oh. Bless his heart. Yeah. Oh. He is a polite young man. Not really a young man, but he is polite. It just breaks my heart for him. Especially knowing all he was doing to help people. He wasn't just like roaming around picking through the trash. Oh. And he left. Oh, and he left after he swept her floor. Ah. Oh. He got to eat a flour bun and he helped a bunch of people. That was supposed to be cute, but that breaks my heart so much. Oh my god. That just crushes my heart. Oh. Because you think you're like, that's so heartbreaking because the whole time I've been thinking about him just collecting scraps and like, oh, he's just collecting scraps, no big deal. But then you find out that this whole time he's been helping people along the way and poisoning himself and just suffering through it. Oh, okay. I'm going to pull up those extra notes from episodes 1 through 3 and I will be right back. Okay, so what I've got in front of me is just the revised edition. Now, again, this is Reiki and Anime Annie. They've translated the revised edition of the novel so far, and what they decided to do is break it up into parts and pieces. So as we're going through the audio drama episodes, the parts and pieces of the revised version of the story, they're going to include that so I can kind of keep up to date with all of that. So, oh, so Long Ying's just gone. There, the first line reads, Long Ying is erased. I guess he's not coming back in the story anymore, so... They haven't seen episodes 1 and 2, so they're probably going, shit. Because I was like, don't tell me. Maybe he'll show up again. Nope. Forget that assumption. Never mind. That's fine. I mean, it's better to know now than to keep thinking he's going to show up, and he never does. And I'm like, oh, well, never mind. So, okay. Zhao Ying was the Lord of Soil and Ground in this area. She recognized Shelian as the Crown Prince. She later died the same way as the original books because she was already fading away as a god. Oh, now see, I forget that because Because the Lord of Soil and Ground shows up in the extra to help Shi Lian. So they weren't dead in the extra. What? I guess there's some parts here, so we'll go through that. But man, that sucks. I guess they die either way. I'm like, oh, they live on. Nope. Shi Lian found the human face disease on one of the bride's bodies, which we noticed. And then, okay, so Shanji once saved Shi Rong, and they became besties. Interesting. Maybe we'll okay, we're going to go through this, I guess, and talk about this a little bit more, right? So, which we always theoretically thought that Shanji and Shi Rong were besties anyway, so that's funny. So the thing is, in the excerpt, it says, Zhao Ying, the local god of land, no one worshipped her for many years. Her statue was small with a broken face, which had been smashed. One day, Shi Lian was passing through her dilapidated temple and then went into and offered a steam bun for her. Fu Yao said, it's not useful to worship a forgotten god who has no power at all. But Shi Lian disagreed. No one can say, no, you can't say that. For me, it's just a steam bun. But for the earth god, it may be an extremely important thing. Oh, so that's kind of like tying to Shi Lian being like, you just need one person. Just one is enough to save someone. And so Shi Lian offering the steam bun to her is like a way to save her. I guess it didn't work. Next, we have preparing to lure out the ghost groom at the Nanyang temple. There is this title that says, this text that says, Fu Yao, it was a ghost bridegroom and someone, if someone were to give me this kind of woman, which is hilarious that Mu Qing is saying that. And Shi Lian says, then you would wipe out this town. And Fu Yao says, no, I'll kill this woman. And Shi Lian says, thank goodness I'm not a woman. And then Nan Fong comes back after calming down. And Fu Yao says, the eyebrows are crooked. The rouge is too thick. Forget it. You're hopeless. Why don't you go to the communication array and ask if there's any heavenly official willing to teach you this method of transformation? And Shi Lian's like, yeah, so we had that section. And then, so that part was all extra. Oh, so Nan Fong cursing was all extra and added into it. Oh, okay. I couldn't remember if that was the case in the original or not, but that apparently was extra. Okay, nice. Okay, so then we have the bridal sedan scene, and there's some highlighted text that was added to give more content to that chapter. So Shi Lian adds the line, as poor as I am, can I still afford you to? And then he says and Fu Yao says we're low maintenance. And Shi Lian says, oh, we talked about this last episode. Smashing around wasting food all day is called low maintenance. And then Fu Yao says, princess, you talk too much. Beware of being disliked by your husband. All this stuff added is just context to make the whole tie-in with Hua Chong even funnier when we get to it. So that's actually hilarious, right? He says, my husband loves me. He won't look down on me. So that whole segment where he's like, we talked about that, the change in the script, right? And Nanfeng, are you done with that? You're all addicted, aren't you? Mm-hmm. And so then he's like, one left on the left of the sedan. Nanfeng answered without thinking, princess. And he realized he had been brainwashed by the trash talk as the other two. He's like, your highness, what's wrong? Oh, okay. I like that. I like the idea that Fu Yao and Shi Lian having this like back and forth banter and being like snippy, that it was added from the original version to like give more context and like be a little tongue-in-cheek moment about Hua Chong. Interesting. That whole thing with Zhao Ying being the temple of the Lord of Soil and Ground and eventually fading off and dying, I'm like, that's terrifying. But I like that it's like a little bit of foreshadowing that Shi Lian's like, we're giving a little bit of foreshadowing to the idea of just one person making a difference. And even the extra that is given too is also this idea of one person making a difference. Like Shi Lian is just one scrap collector going around and getting, spare parts and pieces. But the one table leg he got from another scrap, he was able to fix that woman's desk with it, or that woman's stool. And that's all it took. It was just one little thing. He just needed the one flour steamed bun, and then he helped her sweep the floor and helped make her house cleaner and then left. And Shi Lian, this little unsung hero, walking around gathering up scraps and making people's lives better. It's so cute. Really nice. So not a lot changed in these first 3 episodes, but I feel like the fact that Long Ying is gone and is no longer a character is, like we talked last episode, it's very significant, But at the same time, it's very significant because that character is gone, and it's like, okay, now I'm going to be very curious as we watch the audio drama and see the extra material. I'm going to be so curious to see, okay, what else changes? What else do we get? Like, what are we going to do instead of having Long Ying at Paradise Manor? How is that going to go down? How is Shilian going to initiate those conversations? How is this going to work with when the bath scene, when Shilian, is bathing and it's, Long Ying, but it's actually Hua Chong is Long Ying. How's that going to work? And honestly, in hindsight, we talked about this last week. In hindsight, it very much is okay to get rid of Long Ying because he's just kind of there. And he doesn't really do anything for a long amount of time. And he almost seemed like a plot element that MXTX had to keep up with. And it was almost like MXTX had to be like, okay, I have to include him or it's going to be a plot hole, so I have to find something for him to do, but I really don't have anything for him to do. So it felt like Long Ying's only points were to bring up the human face disease, which we had the Corpse Bride do that in the last episode, so that's fine. To also be a catalyst for Shilian to learn to bring up the human face disease again in Paradise Manor and be a little foreshadowing for us, but I'm sure they could find another way to make that be a thing. And then really Long Ying's main purpose in the whole story is to be that twist at Mount Tonglu where it's Bai Wusheng as Long Ying on the sword and he pops in and it's like, oh, and to be an excuse for how Bai Wusheng got back. He was like basically similar to Lestat in Interview with the Vampire where he kept crawling up the ladder to get back to his original form. But here's the thing, you could find another way to explain that. You could find another way to make that work. So I think it's overall a smart decision to get rid of Long Ying because he really was not a character you needed. And it was kind of confusing to have him be called the same as the son from the Prince of Yongin later on. So I don't find that a bad decision. It's just so curious that now he's just gone. It's like, okay, Hua Chong's happy. Hua Chong is like, oh, you mean I don't have to deal with this kid anymore? Okay, great. Amazing. So that's wonderful. But yeah, wow. Okay. So we're 3 audio drama episodes in. We've seen extra. Next week, we're going to be looking at audio drama episode 4, as well as the video for the ED. We're going to look at that as well. And there's another extra that's included as well. It's it's a small mini theater is what it's called. Yeah, it's called Small Theater. I don't exactly know. It's been put with the episode, so I assume it's safe to watch. Otherwise, why would it be there? But I know there was an extra one on the site, but it said like episode 11.5, and I was like, is that safe to watch? I don't feel like that's safe to watch yet. We're not near episode 11. So next week we'll watch the extra episode 4 and the video, and then the following week we'll do episode 5 and talk about the extra edition changes that Reiki and Anime Annie have pointed out, and then anything else we need to talk about before we dive into Scum Villain. I'm excited. So I'm curious to know your thoughts down below. What do you think about Long Ying not being a character anymore? Like, I'm curious to know what your thoughts are now that it's official. He's X'd from the plot. I'm curious to know what you guys think. But yeah, and what you guys think of the extra editions for volumes 1 through 3. I mean, I'm happy with all of them. I think they're fine. There was one line, and it wasn't included in the extras there that Reiki and Anime Annie pointed out, but there was one line, and I guess it's not anything extra, but it felt like such a foreshadowing line. I was like, wait a minute, what? Like, now I'd have to go back and see what it is, but I remember just listening to it just now. I was like, that seems like a bit of foreshadowing, but never mind. Oh, it was the Ascension line of Hua Chong ascending. I was like, did that book always have that listed? I guess, in taking a year and a half to read the textbook, to read the series of the textbook, I would definitely teach a course over Heaven Official's Blessing. Let's be real. Would teach a class on that. But I guess over the course of reading 8 volumes in a literal year and a half, I forgot that line was in there at the beginning with Hua Chong. And here's the thing. some of these bitches on YouTube, and I'm going to use that word jokingly, but I remember there were lots of comments where people would be like, if you go back to volume 1 to this page and this page, you should read that line. And I would tell my moderators and they'd be like, do not do that. And so now I'm like, you were trying to spoil me of all this foreshadowing that was done back in volume 1 that I wasn't going to like remember and then be surprised, you know, in volumes 6, 7, and 8. But those people were trying to spoil me. They were trying to get me to go back and read so then I would be spoiled and then not surprised when the reveals happened. And I'm like, how dare you? My moms were like, please don't do that. But yeah, Hwa-Chang's ascension was such a major surprise to me, I guess because I'd forgotten that line from volume 1. And then after the fact, I do remember somebody being like, yeah, everything about Hwa-Chang that was either a half-truth or a full truth was mentioned in that first volume. And I'm like, it's just MXTX plays the long game. She waits till you have forgotten about all these details. You have lived your life. You have moved past. You've made other places to stay. And then she's like, hey, remember that one random line on page 17 that you read, you know, I don't know, 80 weeks ago? Remember that? That's a plot twist. And you're like, oh. Crazy talk, right? So yes. I'm really excited next week to dive into more Heaven Official's Blessing. I hope you all are too, but I hope you all have a wonderful week. I can't wait to hear your thoughts down below, but I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yes, I'll be back very soon with more Heaven Official's Blessing. Bye!